A cold mist drifted across the ancient forest, swallowing the moonlight and silencing the night, and with it came a story so haunting that even the bravest villagers dared not whisper it aloud. They said the fog itself carried voices, soft, broken, and restless, that belonged not to the living, but to those who once walked the earth and could never find peace. In Elderwood, a village veiled by towering pines and a shroud of eternal mist, this tale was not merely folklore, it was the heartbeat of the place. Passed down like a warning, yet told with the weight of truth. On certain nights, when the fog became so thick that even the nearest lantern glowed like a faint ember, and the forest seemed to vanish into an abyss, the voices began. Low whispers drifted between the trees, sometimes mournful, sometimes pleading, sometimes sounding like secrets carried on the wind. The villagers kept their doors locked, their windows shut, praying that the fog would thin by morning. But the whispers never truly left Elderwood. Cecilia, a young school teacher with restless curiosity, had arrived in the village only weeks earlier. Unlike the older villagers who spoke of the fog with dread in their eyes, she felt a strange fascination. The very first time she heard the story, she felt something stir deep inside her, a pull she could not explain. With an adventurous spirit and a hunger for truth, she resolved to face what others feared. One moonless night, when the fog lay heavy across the land like a suffocating blanket, Cecilia set out with nothing but her notebook and a flashlight. The beam of light was fragile, swallowed almost instantly by the fog, but she pressed forward, her heart beating in rhythm with her cautious steps. The silence was overwhelming until it broke. The whispers came, at first faint like echoes far away, then growing louder, curling around her like unseen hands. The words blurred together, fragmented and strange, yet carrying an unmistakable yearning. Fear prickled her skin, but another sensation, curiosity, compassion, pushed her deeper into the forest. She followed the sound. Then the shadows took form. Through the dense fog, figures emerged, ethereal, pale, fragile as smoke. Men and women dressed in garments of another time, their faces blurred, their eyes shimmering with sorrow. Cecilia froze, breath caught in her throat, but the apparitions did not advance in anger. They lingered, lost, watching her with a sadness that seemed older than the trees themselves. One stepped forward, a woman with gentle eyes, her presence radiating both grief and hope. Her lips moved, and though her voice was fragmented by the fog, Cecilia understood enough. They sought someone who would listen, someone who would carry their memories, someone who would help them bridge the silence between life and death. Time lost its meaning. Cecilia remained there for hours, perhaps the whole night, hearing the stories spill into the fog. Tales of lovers separated by war, of regrets never spoken aloud, of children lost, of dreams that had vanished before they bloomed. They wept and smiled as they remembered, their voices weaving together like a tapestry of human sorrow and joy. Cecilia wrote feverishly in her notebook, her hands trembling not from fear, but from the weight of what she was hearing. When the first pale strands of dawn touched the horizon, the fog began to shift and lighten. One by one, the apparitions faded, dissolving into the mist as though they had never been. The forest fell silent again, leaving Cecilia standing alone, her flashlight now unnecessary in the growing light of morning. She felt neither fear nor emptiness, only a strange calm, as if a heavy burden had been shared. She returned to Elderwood with a purpose carved into her very soul. Day after day, she poured their voices into words, filling page after page with the memories of the forgotten. What began as scattered notes became a book, a collection of lives, loves, and laments that the fog had carried for generations. The villagers, at first skeptical, grew silent as they read the stories. Some wept, some smiled, and all felt the weight of connection between their lives and those who had come before. Cecilia's book became more than parchment and ink. It became a bridge, a lantern in the mist, a way for the lost to be remembered and perhaps released. Though the fog never ceased to roll through Elderwood, it was no longer only a cloak of fear. For Cecilia and those who read her work, it became a symbol of remembrance, a reminder that silence often holds the voices of the forgotten, and that sometimes all it takes is one listener to guide the lost toward the light. And so the legend of Elderwood changed. The villagers no longer spoke of the fog with dread alone, but with reverence, knowing that within its gray embrace lived the echoes of souls who, at last, were beginning to find their way home.